Give me. Yes.
Boruto's apparently really good at the moment.
I love Shikamaru's my favorite character.
He's sick. He's
Apparently
He's a
amazing.
Charlotte
Hokage.
now, are we
My
gonna-
boy's a Hokage. This is more hype than when Naruto became the Hokage.
Genuinely, yeah.
So Naruto's
But
dead?
Well, hello, and welcome back to Gateway to Anime. How are you all? What's going on? Now, for those of you watching this on YouTube, you might notice, wow, what an entirely different space. Turns out, I work in podcasting and have commandeered my workspace, and it is a slight step up. For those of you listening, don't worry, we'll try not to harp on about it too much, but hopefully the vocal sound quality is just as good, if not better. Anyway, we are, of course, the podcast where we try and swing open the gate to anime for newbies, old returning fans, and everyone alike. And today, we have a very special guest with us. Of course, I'll get to my co-host soon, but you'll mostly know who they are. But firstly, before we get to Charlie and Graeme, I want to introduce Charlotte's co-host on her other podcast, which is called Supporting Cast. You can go check that out if you want. It's where they explore cast members who you might not be aware of, or not even cast members, but even cinematographers, directors, people who you know, but you don't know their names. That is the premise of the podcast. You can probably explain that better. But basically, we have Seamus Quinn here today. Seamus, how are you, my friend?
I'm so good. You have such a nice house.
Oh, thank you. It is quite the house.
It's amazing.
It's all right. And you're the first person to be in this space, along with Charlie and Graeme, who've
I
never
have-
been here before. But
I've been pushing to guest on this podcast since the beginning of it, and I now understand that you're just waiting for a place nice enough to host me.
that's exactly 100%
I
correct.
I feel better now.
Yes, well, good. Well, I'm glad we could accommodate you appropriately. But Charlie, how are you? What's going on?
I'm a little bit, feeling a bit stressed out by this space. I kind of preferred the trussel table in the old location. And I don't have my safety
first
blanket. Yeah, the very first one. I
very
kind of
first
missed that
space?
tiny study that we were in. But now I guess I should probably come to the table and actually talk about anime as opposed to just Simpsons quotes.
That's
for these.
never.
questionable.
No, I'm really good. I'm excited to be here. Excited to talk about anime once again in a cooler space. We've got comfy couches. It's great. Sorry if people listening, this is so boring for you. We don't care about your stupid studio. Get to the fucking point.
Yes, you can probably fast forward the next minute while we talk about this. But,
Next 20 minutes. I'm just
It
going
is
to
a-
describe everything in the room.
in really good vocal detail. But no, of course, Charlie is, of course, my sister and co-host, and Graeme, other floating host. How are you, my good friend?
Don't know what to do with my hands. Normally there's a table and I can grip onto the table.
So
and
we're on
just-
couches for those of
just
you who are
go for the
watching.
ride, but right now,
Did you
Here we
say
are.
floating host? Did you say floating?
Floating
Floats
ghost.
in and out.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, the floating host.
I'm a floater.
Ah,
He's
nice.
floater.
He's flying, baby.
I'm floating ever in.
Anyway, today we are here to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen because Seamus here is a massive fan of what is mine and Charlotte's favorite of the Dark Trio. Now, if you don't know what that means, we'll of course bring it up a few times, but we have a full episode which you can go check out where we talk exclusively about what the Dark Trio is. But essentially, they are three shonen manga animes which were all airing very much similar times. They were all being printed at the same time in various magazines. But basically, they are a twist on the big three, which is, of course, Naruto, Bleach, and One Piece. But while they're nowhere near as big as those, they have a much darker quality to them and what we might refer to as a modern take on shonen. But we'll talk about that more. But again, we won't go too much into that. We're going to talk very much exclusively about Jujutsu Kaisen itself. But if you want to learn more about the Dark Trio, check out that episode. But let me just start off with bringing you in here, Seamus. So why do you love Jujutsu Kaisen? And also, for those who don't know, what is Jujutsu Kaisen about?
Okay, so Jujutsu Kaisen is essentially about this kid named Yuji who is inexplicably strong, then one day discovers that he is part of a much larger, darker world that he doesn't understand when a young Jujutsu sorcerer enters his school to try and recover a finger of a guy named Sukuna. Many things go awry very quickly. Curses, which are essentially demons, attack his school, and in a desperate attempt to save his friends and his new, this young Jujutsu Kaisen named Megumi, Jujutsu sorcerer named Megumi, who he just met, eats the finger of Sukuna, who's this old demon, gains his powers, and then saves his friends, and then goes on a long journey with entering a magical high school kind of place to learn more about this new dark world around him, deal with the big evil demon that now lives inside him, stave off his own execution due to this demon that lives inside him, and try and achieve what his grandfather told him is a good death.
Yes, death.
Yeah, it's so
The
weird.
ultimate goal.
It is kind of weird,
I
huh?
fucking love it.
I reckon that's one of the best motivations I've seen for a shonen protagonist. He just wants everyone to die an honest and like a death with dignity, or like an honest death. Or
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Like a
and
good death.
A good death.
Yeah.
And I think it's because he's so upset that he wasn't next to his grandfather when he did die. And he
Yes.
was like, he deserved a better death than that. And I think that it's an amazing premise because so rarely do these shonen shows actually deal with, you know, mortality. If they do, it's all about someone trying to be immortal. And
This-
this is kind of an
Yeah.
interesting take on being what it is to be immortal. And we're mortal, not immortal. Not to be confused.
A morsel?
A morsel.
Morsel of a
Delicious
man?
morsel?
JJK is fully just about death.
Yeah.
It is, and I have so many thoughts about what JJK has to say about death, and each iteration of JJK that we've seen in the last 2 to 3 years now has a completely different POV on it. The first season of Jujutsu Kaisen, which came out, in like 2017 now? 2018? No, a little bit later. It must have been
it's
2019
2019.
because I discovered it in COVID. It is all about like trying to have a good death. The protagonist's whole goal is like interrogating what death means to himself. Spoilers, he dies 5 episodes in and then has to readdress his own like emotional relationship with death.
Yeah.
Then Jujutsu Kaisen 0, the weakest of the 3 parts, I think.
I'm about to flip this mic over.
You're just boring. But
There was a table here, which we don't have anymore.
well, here's the thing.
It'd be
His whole
flipped.
his thing is like, I'm trying to find a reason to live, which is for me like, and this is my whole thing about Jujutsu Kaisen 0. It is the rough draft of everything he goes on to explore.
Well, yes.
I'm going way.
No,
off.
but just quickly. So Jujutsu Kaisen 0, for those of you who don't know, was the initial bit of writing that Giga Katami actually did for Jujutsu Kaisen. So it was the first thing that was released in the manga. But when they adapted it, they started it from where the story actually begins, which happened a bit later. But there was a movie done called Jujutsu Kaisen 0, which went back and did a full prologue of this thing. Is that correct, Graeme?
Pretty much. Yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah.
It's the precursor, it's the prototype, it's the blueprint.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it does look like that in many capacities. Also, the high production values of the movie are sick.
Yeah,
though.
it kind of skews it a little bit. Yeah.
But yeah, writing-wise, it's messier, no question. Yeah,
I liked it.
I loved it.
I also liked it.
You cried.
I did cry. I cry a lot.
Look,
It's a low bar, but
at anime.
I don't mind
It's the
that
one
it
thing makes me
shows
cry.
3 different kind of versions of that. I like that he ended up, making I think he made the right choice in deciding to do Itadori as protagonist of his series. And I think that it was cool they got to go back and animate it and how it works as a standalone. I think it does nothing but add to the world. I don't think it really drags it down or anything. It just shows a different perspective, different character, and what we could have had from Jujutsu Kaisen, which I'm glad that we didn't because we have quite a unique thing now. Whereas that main character, what's the protagonist name? Yuji, I think exists in a lot of other things as well.
You mean
That
Yuta?
story. Who the hell is Yuji?
Yuji's the main
Yuji
character.
Itadori.
Yuji,
This is the
are you on a
other-
fucking anime podcast, dude?
Sorry.
This is the other thing about
Yuta.
in all of our defense, JJK loves characters that have the same first 3 letters.
Yeah, no, in fairness, yes,
You've got
true.
the 2 bad guys are Suguru and Sukuna.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
2
yeah.
protagonists are Yuta and Yuji.
Yeah, no, in fairness, that is very confusing.
It feels like a trap. Yeah, and I also think that this most recent season, Hidden Inventory, is also about death. And I think
Yes, it is.
And it's about weirdly, you're like, it's about being immortal. It's about being an immortal.
Yes.
Mhm.
Like that is the whole thing Gojo is like exploring this arc. That's spoilers.
Look, if you're listening to this episode, I recommend watching Jujutsu Kaisen before coming into here. Like, it's really great watch, should be fine, but I think we're going to talk about it and we're going to talk about spoilers and things
Yeah,
like
we
that.
should.
Yeah, look,
It's a
we've-
deep dive.
yeah.
We've got episodes where we recommend it. I'd say go back to Dark Tree where we don't really spoil much, but this one, let's just do it. Spoilers.
Get it all
This is
out.
a deep
Spoilers.
dive on
Wee.
Jujutsu Kaisen, and we've talked about the show a lot on the podcast, so we're just going to dive deep. And if you haven't watched it, honestly, basically stop listening.
Get out of here.
Get out of it! Get that cat out of the way.
I also want to apologize because I think as soon as you said Jujutsu Kaisen's about death, I went like white, my eyes glazed over, and I just talked for 5 minutes.
Good.
Like
it's all
I have
about.
no
Yeah.
consciousness of the last 15 minutes we've been doing this
Where am I?
podcast.
Where is this place?
Yeah, I've woken up after been
Frothing
sentenced to
from
an
the mouth.
execution.
I was gonna say you
By
became.
Sam.
So Seamus has been wanting to come in the show for a while. I know we've mentioned this a couple of times, but I love that we asked why you wanted this one because obviously Seamus. Okay, look, I'll be real with you. Seamus and I disagree on many things, and
I do know this is going.
Do you know about this,
I
Seamus?
feel like a deer in a
Yes.
headlight.
Yes.
This is actually an intervention for you.
Am I about to get cancelled?
Look, so if you're ever going to watch supporting cast, you'll see we're kind of on the same page for movies, I think. But when it comes to anime, we have a lot of differing opinions. But one thing we do agree on is Jujutsu Kaisen. So sorry for everyone playing at home. We're probably going to agree a lot on this episode, but there'll be certain things which I might start screaming at Seamus about. Just as a pre-warning
I
for
did,
that.
as prep for this episode, write a list of anime bad takes I have.
I'm
Get into
excited.
it.
The last time all four of us were together, and also with our video editor Josh, Charlie's partner, who is also an integral part of the Gateway team, we all were quite merry, and there were a lot of what I would consider to be rather terrible takes from Seamus about anime thrown around willy-nilly, and it was quite an animated time around a
A
table.
lot of
It was-
screaming at 3 a.m. in someone's house.
in
Yours?
Charlie and Josh's house. It was a good time, but don't worry, we're not going to take you there.
Demon Slayer season 3, best season.
Oh, okay.
What are you
We're going to put a
talking
pin
about?
in that before we lose complete control of our subject matter.
Let's-
Thank you for bringing me to your very professional setup for a very unprofessional attitude.
You know what? You are getting cancelled.
So I'm just going to talk a little bit about why I think Jujutsu Kaisen is so special. Now, obviously, the Dark Trio have many different things going for them, and like I know you're a Chainsaw Man fan, and like I think Chainsaw Man.
Did you say
fun.
Chainsaw
You
Man?
said Chainsaw Man.
A Chainsaw Man. I was trying
It's the
not
new
to be
studio.
like
It's
super
so
Australian.
exciting.
Chainsaw Man.
I love Chainsaw
Everyone
Man.
loves Chainsaw Man.
Chancellor Chainsaw. Man.
Anyway, look, I think Jujutsu Kaisen is incredible because in many ways what it does is it's doing a thing, and I know that a lot of people might accuse this of being lazy, but like what it does do I think is quite interesting is that it leans into the tropes of anime, but kind of makes fun of them a little bit. So for example, cursed energy also just FYI makes no fucking sense, but
It's nonsense.
as a power system, it's fucking ludicrous. And we tried to do so many posts on Gateway Anime Instagram trying to be like, explaining curse energy. It's like, it can't be explained. It makes
It's
no fucking
negative
sense.
feelings that turn
Um,
into monsters, and then someone can have the powers of a photograph.
Yeah,
Wait, what?
it makes no sense.
I've said it
Anyway.
before and I'll say it again. It makes complete sense.
It's
And I think it's
in
perfect.
an anime context. Yes. Yes.
I
yes.
think in an anime context, it makes just as much sense as anything else that's been thrown at us.
Of course.
Sure.
Of
it's
course.
chakra for sad boys with Hunter x Hunter's Nen system. Like,
Yeah,
what more do you
okay.
need?
It's
Okay.
perfect.
Yeah, fair. That's actually a pretty good way to describe
sell.
it for those who know Hunter x Hunter.
Chakra for sad boys.
Chakra for sad
Chakra-
boys, yeah.
That's a t-shirt.
No,
It
they're
is.
Chakra for sad boys.
It is.
But the thing is, like, for example, one of the things I'm trying to talk about here is that, like, in Jujutsu Kaisen, if you explain your ability to your enemies,
Best fucking shit.
it becomes stronger. Now, everyone knows that's anime trope 101 in shonen battle shows. Like, wow, you didn't realize that my ability is exactly this. It's like, why the fuck are you telling them? Like in Bleach, and Bleach is now airing at the time of recording this. I love Bleach so much, but every single person's like, haha, you didn't realize my ability could do exactly this. And then they're like, oh, now I can counter it, you dumb
now
fuck.
I know.
Yeah.
Like, whereas in Jujutsu Kaisen, they take that trope, but then go, oh, but there's a reason they say it. And it kind of, it's leaning into the trope of the genre, while also kind of making it new and fresh and interesting. And that's why I think Jujutsu Kaisen is really cool.
It's a remix.
Yeah, 100%. That's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, it's very meta as well in that way because it's a remix. And also, I think in the world that we have, like our pop culture, as in our world, not the sad boy chakra world, the literal world that I exist in has got Lord of the Rings and Jennifer Lawrence and stuff. So it's kind of, it takes place in our universe.
Oh,
But-
okay. So you mean in Jujutsu Kaisen itself?
Yes.
Yes.
What did
like,
you
yes.
think I was talking about?
The real
Yeah,
world.
so I was
Oh,
like,
no,
I thought you
you're
meant
right.
like
Lord
in
of the
this
Rings.
world that we're sitting
Yeah.
in right now. I was like, yes, it does have those things.
Yes.
No, it
That's a
takes
good
place
point.
in
No,
Jujutsu
yes, yes,
Kaisen.
yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in Jujutsu Kaisen, he watches Lord of the Rings. He references Jennifer Lawrence. Absolutely 100%.
And it's a
yes.
modern, like, it's very.
Like Bleach is also set in the
He
modern world.
references the
Yes.
Rasengan.
He does. He references Rasengan
Yeah,
from Naruto.
same thing.
Absolutely. 100%.
I mean, like, that's my other thing about this is like, this is a remix in the sense that it takes out all the shit I don't like.
Yes.
Like, I'm not going to go into any sort of like high horsing on old anime and the tropes that I think, you know, you guys have discussed in other episodes, and I think us as a culture have discussed quite a lot that we don't like. Jujutsu Kaisen makes an active effort to avoid those.
Yes.
While still doing all the hindbrain joy of shonen that I
Yes.
just love so fucking much.
Yes.
Also, it has two Narutos. It's
does.
what if Naruto had two Narutos, and one of them is what if Kurama was always going to be a dickhead, and the other one is what if he had to have sex with Kurama to get his powers.
I'm listening.
So Yuta has to kiss his nine-tailed fox at the end of it.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, that's true, he
Yuji
does.
obviously is just, there's no talking to this nine-tailed
This,
fox.
yes,
There's no talk, no
sadistic
jutsu at the
lunatic,
end.
yeah.
He's an eight-armed guy that is here to make your day bad.
Yes.
Yeah, but I'd rather have sex with him than the weird one and that Yuta has to.
Isn't that just the way sorcery works, though?
Yeah.
There's got to be balance.
Like, Sukada's kind of hot. Like,
He is a bit.
yeah.
What them?
With the eyes open on his face?
Whatever. He's just on that throne.
What
He's gonna
them?
fuck.
What them face mouths do?
Damn those face mouths.
10 fingers.
You know what I like on a man?
20 fingers.
Yeah.
It's in there.
A man
it's
who's got a
text.
mouth
It's
on his
there, man.
hand. That's what I like.
And he always takes his shirt off. Why does Suka never appear with a shirt on?
That's true. He does always take his shirt off.
To make room for the extra arms.
100%. Actually, that makes
It must be hard
perfect
to
Yeah.
buy a
sense.
shirt with all those
We just
extra
answered the
arms.
question.
Exactly.
Yeah, man. This show's flawless.
Now, Graham, obviously, you are a manga reader.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yes, the
Yeah.
manga boy, as
Yep.
you have been coined a few times on this show.
Yep.
But
Mangeka.
talk to us a little bit about the manga, because you were reading this before it became an anime, correct?
Yeah, I've been reading this
Cool.
fuck, I don't need years. It's now become kind of like self-harming. I think
That's some cursed energy, dude.
it's very similar to Demon Slayer. I think the manga is elevated by the show like drastically
Okay, yes.
because I don't enjoy the manga. I still buy it and I still read it because I like to hurt myself. But the actual anime is far and above the manga.
Interesting.
Like it tidies up. I don't think what's the author's name?
Gigi Akatami.
I don't think that guy is a good writer.
Okay, interesting.
I think the studios that are producing the show cut out a lot of stuff and they
Mappa.
tidy up a lot of stuff and they do a lot of heavy lifting.
Interesting.
When you're reading the manga, it kind of feels like each chapter is just written on the fly,
Okay.
especially once you get past the next upcoming arc.
This should be your arc.
Yeah.
So I should quickly say, to contextualize this, at the time of recording this podcast, we are in between parts of season 2. So we've just seen the hidden inventory arc, which is the Gojo origin story, essentially, in many ways, and
In
how
all of heaven and earth, I alone am the honored one.
so hype, dude. Such a hype
Mm.
moment. And we're moving into what many manga readers have been saying, and I haven't read the manga, that the Shibuya arc is peak. And so I'm very excited for this. And also credit to Mappa, who are the studio producing it. The fact that they have actually taken, we're taking 3 weeks off to get this shit prepared. Thank you. Let them cook,
Yep.
say I.
Oh,
yeah.
Let them cook.
absolutely.
It's interesting you say that about the manga because I have never watched all of the original Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
But about 3 years ago, I went through and smashed out Kai, and I fucking loved it.
Kai's good.
And then I was thinking about like One Piece, Naruto, Bleach. All I want from those three is Kai. I want a Kai of each of those to knock out in like a couple of weeks. And it sounds like we're getting the live Kai of Jujutsu Kaisen.
Pretty much.
Hold on. What are they going to do? Jujutsu Kai Kaisen? That's not going to work.
Just in capital as Jutsu Kai.
Kai,
So-
Kai, Kai,
That's so
Kai.
good. Fast and the
JJKK.
Furious.
JJ.
JJK rolling.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But there is-
JJKK.
JK, JJK.
There is that version of One Piece now where you can watch online and it gives you the list of like how many minutes you can save once they've cut all like the little pieces.
Yeah, it's a year of your
And
life.
it starts off with
yeah.
season 1, this arc, you save like 20 minutes. But
Oh,
then
yeah.
by the time you get to catching up now, it's like you can save 400 minutes out of just skipping this part. You're like,
Scary part is One Piece doesn't have as many fillers as you look at if you look at the Naruto watching.
Yeah.
You cut out like 20 years of your life by doing that.
But there's
It's
a lot
mostly
of-
fillers for the majority of
and
it.
there's a lot of like long shots where like, two people punch and fists hit, and then you've got to watch the earth shatter and everything, and pigeons fly away and stuff. There's a lot of that in
Yeah,
it.
that's the famous thing about the One Piece anime is they don't add filler. They just make every scene last like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I watched like 100. I probably watched like 180 episodes of One Piece. It was like one of my like proto anime when I was first getting into anime. Like I did Naruto and then I did One Piece. And like I watched so much of that shit and I still feel like I'm a novice in it. Like I watched what's that? 5 Jujutsu Kaisens worth of One Piece and I'm still like, "Oh yeah, but I mean, I know everything that's going on because I stopped watching it and just started watching YouTube reviews of it, which honestly is not the worst way to consume that particular anime."
Brett Dowson's back on this podcast.
Oh my gosh. Never watched anything.
I am the bread.
But I guess if I could jump back into the manga, because I got
Sorry.
sidetracked there. Like,
Not at all.
it's not a bad manga at all, and there are some great moments in it. I just think like it definitely suffers from the writer and his pacing and his way he explains stuff.
Mm.
I think I've mentioned it before, but like there was a whole series of chapters where he would just write as a funny little page going, "Ha, I forgot to explain this." And you're like, "You son of a bitch!" Like,
A straight up retcon.
and I get there's the whole pace of how much manga you have to produce and stuff, and you're not always going to remember stuff, but like, oh man, it hurts.
He seems like a funny guy though, because I think one of my favorite things about Jujutsu Kaisen is the humor.
Oh, the
so
humor's
fucking
fantastic.
funny.
And
Yeah.
so when
It is
I
actually
say
really
like
funny, yeah.
Soz forgot, I'd be like, oh lol, like I'd find that
Yeah.
funny.
Also,
but I
he's
know
like-
as a storytelling technique, it's not outstanding. So
Oh yeah, he's also like 32 years old.
Yeah.
which is like really
oh,
depressing.
don't do this to me. Stop telling me the ages of these like amazing mangakas. Every time makes me feel like I'm just like, God, what have I achieved?
Look at how nice
This room.
Look at where we
how
are.
nice this room is. What are you talking
Finally,
about?
we did it. We did it.
You have
We
achieved
snuck into
equal
a
amounts
professional studio.
as Akatami. Akatami?
Yes.
Katami,
Yeah.
Speaking of funny, I just really, really, really want to spend at least 5 minutes talking about Toto.
Please,
Toto is the funniest character ever written.
please explain him to people who aren't aware, and even for those of you who are.
For you
let's hear
fools-
your take.
For you fools that are this far into this podcast and haven't watched it, Toto is the funniest character in an anime. I am like, that
Wow.
I have ever seen. Toto makes me laugh harder than anything else. And I haven't watched that many like dedicated like comedy anime. Probably the closest thing I've watched is One Punch Man. But there is nothing in the entirety of One Punch Man that makes me laugh half as much as the My Best Friendo
Oh, My Best Friendo
scene.
is
Oh,
Yeah.
it's
It
pretty
is-
funny.
So the premise
It
of
is genius.
the premise of this fucking joke is that
Here we go, people. Strap in.
there is a guy who is at this point the strongest non-teacher member of the entire cast. So in Naruto terms, it's like if Gaara, if his entire personality when he's introduced in that arc was, I just need you to be horny with me so we can be friends, that is Toto Awai. All he wants from everyone around him is for them to be horny on main. And everyone who refuses to acknowledge, and it's a very small line, but when he first pressures Megumi to admit what kind of woman he's into, which is his catchphrase, asks everyone what kind of woman he's into or they are into, goes, "It doesn't matter if it's a man, I just want you to be honest with me." And he says no. He gets pissed off and starts fighting him because he finds it really boring to be dishonest about that stuff. Finally meets Yuji, someone who will honestly answer what kind of woman he's into. And then the anime stops for a full 5 minutes to go inside Toto's head and then watch another anime that he's making up about him asking out a high school crush with the help of his friend Yuji and getting rejected. This is in the middle of the most hype fight of the season.
Yeah.
My favorite is the cut
is
to it
genius,
as well. Like
actually.
it goes in and like it suddenly goes into like a
It's a
widescreen,
different
like a
visual
movie,
style.
and it's so well done. Like, you're right. It's like a full 5 minutes. Like really takes its time, has the character beats. But my favorite part is that he still gets rejected in his fantasy movie. He gets rejected, and he doesn't mind.
'Cause he's got his best
He just
friend
got his
over
His best
there.
friend, like,
Best
let's go
friend
get some
over
ramen.
It's
Yeah.
so funny.
It's just about this guy he just met comforting him and helping him deal with failure. This is the thing. And this is why he is such a better version of the horny character in an anime than,
Yes.
say,
Jiraiya.
Zenitsu.
Oh.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
I'm not going to talk about Demon Slayer.
I
don't
won't
need
have
to.
any Jiraiya hate on this podcast.
No, that's the first guy
That's where you thought I was
To be
going
fair,
to.
not
To be
good.
fair,
To
some
be fair,
problems.
really
Not good.
problematic
We got some problems there,
representation of Jiraiya.
But we will not talk back about it.
The way this guy is presented as horny is that he just wants to talk about sex with his friends openly. What he's really pursuing, though, is healthy male relationships.
That's a pretty fair take.
It is like Yuji's thing of like, I'm trying to figure out what good death is. It's a re-examination of like the shonen trope. Toto is a re-examination of the horny cliche where it's like, he is looking for healthy relationships in his life to deal with his burgeoning sexuality. And it is so goddamn funny in the way it's presented.
But I mean, so he got that his catchphrase, which is what "Tell me your type"
Yeah.
is what it is. He got that from another sorcerer who's a woman.
Yeah, from
Who
his
is
teacher. The opposite
is
of protege.
sensei.
Teacher.
What's the opposite of protege? Sensei. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on an anime podcast.
Who is a character that we've only seen in the first season. We only see one shot of her, and she only says to someone, "Tell me your type." And then,
To be fair, a 12-year-old boy. This show is not without all problematic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
there are some. Yeah, still.
Yeah.
Sorry,
It's like, huh?
and then we see her in the latest season as more of a character who sets one of our new protagonists protagonist of that particular, the new season, to being an antagonist. She accidentally kind of sets him, or accidentally.
Accidentally?
I don't know though. I mean, I don't
This
think
man's
that
got a
she.
face on.
I don't know if she
Just taking it all
deliberately
in.
did that to try and coax that sort of reaction from him, or whether he just ran with some advice she gave him in a terrible direction. We don't know. So we don't really know much about her. So
Interesting
she's special
character.
grade, which it means that there's only how many special grade sorcerers are
4.
in the show?
At
Gojo?
that time, there's 4.
Yeah.
There might be more.
But-
It doesn't want to tell us shit. That's
Yeah.
the thing
But
about
Yuta obviously arrives later, and
So Yuta, Gojo, her, and
Some mystery figure that's not named.
right.
What's the one with the axe and the hair?
Oh, sorry.
comes down?
I don't think she's
uh,
special
You
grade,
know
is
when she's
she?
special grade?
I
No.
think
I
she's
can't remember.
first grade, but she's
Yeah.
also because she's in hidden inventory. She just has a different haircut.
Yeah,
True,
she
this is
had her
true.
hair tied
She's,
back for that. She didn't have a plait
She's actually
over
in the
her face.
Intro
Yeah.
episode.
Shocking, I know. She decided to change that one up.
Yeah, Suguru is special grade at that time.
yep.
Gojo is special grade at that time. She is
She is
special grade
special
at that time. And she says there
And
are
there's a
4,
fourth.
and you don't find out at the time.
Yeah, and then Yuta comes in later.
So there's 5, and then by the time
that we are aware of.
Yeah,
Graham
sure.
probably knows more, but we're not going to spoil anything.
So talking
Yeah,
We
about
can.
immortality and mortality in this latest series that's come out, like currently up to date, we obviously have this whole idea of someone who literally is immortal. We have
Tengen
Tengen,
Rata.
Sama.
who
Oh, yeah.
is literally immortal, but it gets to a point where if it's too much, he's going to like.
He's too immortal?
yeah, seriously,
Yeah.
they're like he's too
Yeah, he
immortal.
loses
guys.
humanity.
He will if
Evolve
he's so
into
immortal
something.
that he will evolve into something that no one knows what it is.
And
So
it's scary.
yeah, and everyone's like, best we don't find out.
Yeah, and
Including
Something's best left
More
unknown.
small girls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's huck another lady into him every 500 years.
Yeah, so we
Feed
can
him
take over
another
their body. It's
child.
like, pretty weird. But
Mm.
anyway,
And
again,
then there
not
was-
without its problems.
Not
this
without
show.
its problems.
And then there was that girl who was the sacrifice. Can we give like a synopsis of this season? Just so
Who
we
wants
go.
to do it?
Oh, yeah.
So basically, the hidden inventory arc is a flashback to explain Gojo and Suguru's backstory. Essentially, we are introduced to them as second-year Jujutsu Kaisen sorcerers, where they are already, in their own words, the strongest. This whole arc is, broadly speaking, about them trying to deliver a star plasma vessel, which is a person who is born once every 600 years that can replace be hucked into Tengen's body in order to increase
Lobbed.
prevent him from turning into some sort of ultra evil butterfly from the caterpillar cocoon state he lives in. It's all very vague, and the Suguru's and Gojo's job is to deliver her safely to Tengen so that this process can begin again. This is very important because Tengen is the Jujutsu sorcerer who was born with the innate ability to be immortal and has spent his he was born in like the 700s, I think. So like 1300 years maintaining the barriers that keep the rest of the normal world noticing all the cursed spirits and jujitsu chicanery that happens outside of their ken. It's a fairly simple story narratively, except for the fact that there's a cult that wants to make Tengen ascend to this greater being, the sort of eldritch power that he might be. So they send an assassin who is Toji Fugashiro, who we find out to be Megumi's father. I'm probably butchered that last name. I'm really sorry. To take out these two special grades sorcerers, Suguru and Gojo. It is mostly giving us insight into how Gojo became the strongest version of himself that we see in the anime in present, and how Suguru sort of went down this dark path. Essentially, after hanging out with this young girl who's the Star Plasma vessel, they get set upon by Toji, who manages to temporarily murder Gojo. Temporarily murder, a sentence that happens so far twice in this anime, maybe too many times. And then beat the shit out of Suguru and murder Rika.
Yes, the Star Plasma vessel.
The Star Plasma vessel.
That's a spoiler.
Yeah.
We're
past it.
We're
way
deep
past
into
it.
this, yeah.
So where do you think this ranks? I'm going to put them in 3 different categories. We've got 0, obviously. We've got the first season of Jujutsu Kaisen, part 1, part 2. Then we've got this. Where do you, all of us, where do we rank this?
Okay.
Slap bang in the middle.
Yeah, agreed.
I think it's 3rd place for me.
How many episodes was it?
think
5? 5 episodes?
Yeah, it was 5 episodes.
Yeah,
Huge
quite a
majority.
taut sort of run.
Season 1's obviously the best so far.
I put it in 3rd place.
Yeah, fair.
I back 0 over this. And
Yeah.
it's going to pain you.
Kind of like that it's a new director and a new animation style as well. And
True.
Like it felt a lot fresher.
Do you like acid jazz? Because that is all of the background music is
The
acid
music
jazz.
is
You know
pretty
what?
wild, yeah.
I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it. I didn't hate it
I love the
either.
intro song.
Intro song's
Love
amazing.
the
The
intro
intro
song.
song sounds very similar to the first season's intro songs, like that kind of vibe.
Also,
Yeah.
yes, but the ending song of season 1 is one of the best ending
That's-
songs
it's
of
one
any
of the
song.
Lost in
Lost in
Paradise
Paradise
of
by
anything.
Ali. It's
Just watching our boys dance. And
like
go.
breakdance fighting is just next level.
They're not even fine. They're just chilling out. They're just
Just
doing little
chilling.
dances.
It's
Going to the shops.
I've copied those dance moves so many times alone in my
I
room.
love it so much.
So the reason I put this 3rd for me, it's still really, really good.
Mhm.
And yes, as you said, it's only 5 episodes, so unfair for
Yeah.
me to be like, Obviously, Gojo is everyone's favorite. You know, he
Yeah.
used to be my phone background. He is the guy. He's the sleepy. No, he's not that sleepy. He's a teacher figure
He's
with the
sleepy
reverse.
in the main series.
He's not sleepy. He's reverse Kakashi. He's just wearing a blindfold.
He
instead
is
of a-
reverse Kakashi.
Yeah,
That's true.
and you know anything with Kakashi coded for me is 10 out of 10. So I was like, absolutely sign me up for this character.
Absolutely.
This doesn't awaken something in me.
He's
You're this late in and you haven't been awakened to hot anime boys? You're in
He's
a
not my type.
podcast
He's
about
not
it,
my
man.
type. He's not my type. That's all I'm going to say.
Cartoons can be sexy.
Yeah.
What do I do with this?
What do I do with this information?
Handle this.
he as a side character works incredibly well as someone who
Yes.
drops in, brings the hype moments, leaves, is like they kind of position him to be this incredibly overpowered character, and that works, I think, because he's sort of like the limit we're looking at is Gojo.
It's hard to do overpowered characters as well.
Yeah.
Very difficult. But at least they established, literally in the first episode of Jujutsu Kaisen season 1, might have been the second, but in the first 2 episodes at least, basically it's straight away established that Sukuna, which is the demon essentially inside the protagonist, Yuji, and Gojo are the 2 strongest beings in existence. And sometimes that's great because when it's like Naruto, it's like, oh, don't worry, the people from the moon are here. They're much stronger than the last bunch of clowns. You're like, what the fuck are you talking
And
about?
then despite anything,
Susan?
Naruto will
Get
become
outta
busy,
here,
will
man.
become stronger than them
yeah,
no matter
and he'll
what
also,
happens.
yeah, but, you know, whereas at least we're like, this is the top, okay? And I love a good power scaling that stops instead of just scales out of control. So, I had
So
to say
far,
that.
so far,
So far.
Yeah,
I know
I'm
Graham's
sure
the
it's going to
biggest
become
Yeah.
absolutely cooked, but as they all do. But I kind of love it. I'm like, let's bring the people from the moon. Let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's
I'm
see.
on moon
like,
people's
I'm
bring
not
it.
against people from the moon
No,
if they're
sounds
listening.
good.
Apparently, Boruto's really good at the moment.
Apparently
Yes.
that time skip like crashed all of like
All the manga
apps and stuff like that, just crashed it.
Apparently, anime rocks. I didn't get even halfway
Let's
through.
not lose our
Shibuya.
minds.
Hang on, there's a time skip.
There's a time skip.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Just happened.
Someone
Time
needs to
recording.
stop and tell me immediately. What do you mean? How many years?
So it
Like
is a 7-year.
4, 5?
No, it's like I thought it was longer than. Oh, maybe
I thought it
no.
was
You must be
4.
right.
I think it's
Must be like
about 4.
Yeah, Boruto 2 Blue Vortex, one of the worst.
Oh, sorry, that's awful.
That's
subtitles I've
a
ever
dreadful
heard.
subtitle.
So
I'm such a sucker for a time skip. It
I
could
know
be
you
an
are.
anime I've never
we
watched
can
in
spoil
my
the shit
life.
out of that right now as
And-
well if you want.
I would just, yeah, please do.
So
I also know this for no reason.
Boruto basically is accused of killing Naruto
Yes.
and goes off in the run. So he is now a Ronin type character
Sasuke
who's
was.
been
Trained by
hunted,
Sasuke.
trained by Sasuke and being
Okay,
hunted.
well, now obviously Boruto sounds like the best show ever written.
It really does.
I
It
didn't
really
go-
does.
this is what we
Can
wanted.
you
Get
guess
those
who the
moon
current,
people out of there.
Can you guess who the current Hokage is? And for those of you at home who know,
Konohamaru?
let's see if
Konohamaru?
No,
Good
that's
guess.
not a bad guess.
He's
though.
the
It
assistant.
would have made a lot more sense, but
It's pretty badass.
it's pretty. I don't know. I've seen a lot of people getting upset about it. Online.
Oh, is it the
I
girl?
didn't-
Is
I
it
didn't know.
Sarada?
No,
Is it Sakura?
no, that would be.
That would have been
also be
so
good.
good. Oh, hang on. It's not a female, is it?
No,
No, of course
What
not.
if-
Of course
It's
not.
Naruto,
We-
Charlotte. There's no females getting any decent roles in
We,
this
only had,
thing.
we had one female Hokage.
We did.
True.
Although she
She
was
was the
actually-
worst one
and she was
ever.
meant to be bad. They were like,
She
she was
wasn't bad.
terrible.
She had the
That
giant
That's
slug thing.
sidelined
That was
her.
great.
was our
instantly.
third choice. They were like, we couldn't get any of the other
Couldn't
teammates.
get the two dudes.
Yeah,
We'll
so
just,
we get
I guess we'll
her.
get the chicken.
Despite her being-
Like,
Her
literally,
being-
Two over
yeah.
there.
The other one's an
being-
evil sociopath.
One of the dudes
psycho.
was a snake.
Yeah, one of those is like a snake man.
And
doing the
one's
most
a
horrible
full-on
shit. One's a
pervert.
full
Yeah,
Frog
And
pervert.
Sanada's like a genius healer, and like they're like, no, get out of here.
Oh, guess you'll fucking do. won't
She's a
you,
gambling
love?
problem, though.
Get that
so-
frog
Jiraiya
pervert
wasn't-
out of here.
Let's be clear. Jiraiya wasn't saying no because he was like, "Oh no, I don't want that. I don't want to take on the power." He was like, "I can't have that many eyes on me, guys. I cannot
100%.
take that political."
I'm gonna
Start
write
doing
this
that
saucy
stuff.
novel over here.
Oh, my gosh.
It's Shikamaru.
Shikamaru.
Oh, give me. Yes.
Boruto's apparently
Oh
really
my
good at the
god.
moment.
I love Shikamaru's my favorite character.
He's sick. He's
Apparently
He's
mad.
a
Charlotte, now,
Hokage.
are we
My
gonna-
boy's a Hokage. This is more hype than when Naruto became the Hokage.
Genuinely, yeah.
So Naruto's
But
dead?
I'm glad
Naruto
Naruto's
is
dead.
Sealed somewhere. in a
Naruto
different-
is
Fucking
trapped
hell.
in
Is he
a-
with Gojo?
He made
Like, I don't
Hinata
know.
With
You
Gojo.
spoiled something else for
He's trapped. So
He's in that prison.
Naruto is trapped. Naruto and Hinata are currently
Yes.
trapped in the tiny dimension, which is a
Correct.
thing that exists.
That's the worst kind.
It's where you get so it's where you get so small. You're basically in the Ant-Man universe.
Sounds
And
cool.
and you can and this guy named Kawaki is the only guy that can access him, who's
Yes.
currently the big bad,
Yes.
who put Naruto there because he loves him so much that he doesn't want anyone to kill him. It sounds sick. I just watch videos about it. I'm the
Yeah.
trashiest anime fan.
So when I've gone and I have like two friends, and I will shout out to Faisal and Alex Williams,
Who's
who
been on this podcast?
are
watched that
two
episode.
like very obscure, two actor award nominated Boruto fans, or
Shane Warne
like
himself. Hell
hilariously like really successful actors who just love Naruto that much that they suffered through Boruto. And now, obviously, I was wondering why I was getting messages from Alex being like, "Do you know how good Boruto is?" Obviously, he's feeling smug. You
We
know,
should
'cause it
get
got
Alex
good.
on to talk about Boruto.
We need
should.
someone to bring on Boruto. But
We'll have to watch it.
when it's good,
Should
I
Blue
literally
Vortex.
just asked both of them. I've been like, "Hey, what's the good bit I read that Kurama's like?" you
That was
know?
one I watched.
And then
that on
I watched it
YouTube.
and I
It looks
sobbed
That was
hysterically.
the saddest thing I've ever seen. I had
I
no
sobbed
context.
hysterically, and I like did a cheers to him at this dinner I was at with people who did not watch Naruto because I was drunk.
We're
I was
well-adjusted people, I
"Kurama,
promise."
Pour one out to Kurama. So
Fuck.
obviously Naruto is my new
so many
Boruto is my new favorite show.
Okay,
But
we're gonna
only-
get back onto the
but
subject
only
at
when
hand.
it deals with the Naruto characters. You know what I mean? Like I don't care. I'm like, who the hell are these other clowns?
No one cares, dude.
The Ototsuke? You don't want to know about Shibuya, the god of Ototsuke?
No, who the
Got
hell
like a
is
million
that?
eyes. It's the god of Ototsuke. The moon people.
Anyway, for those of you who tuned into this podcast because it was entitled Jujutsu Kaisen, we're
Just
back.
cross Boruto.
Jujutsu Kaisen is dead. Hell, the new king.
All hail
Boruto.
Boruto, the one true king.
You've heard of the Dark Trio.
So we get you in with Jujutsu Kaisen, and we hit you with Boruto.
Show none of us have watched.
None of us have watched it.
We just seen videos.
That was like a 20-minute bit.
You're watching TikTok.
Have we turned into supporting cast? 2.5 hours fucking
Welcome
long.
to the truest blue vortex. Can't get out.
The tiny dimensions.
Get sucked into my tiny dimension.
Tiny dimension of some segues and sidelines.
I'm so sweaty.
Oh shit, that was really funny.
Okay, hang on. I had a point.
Oh, God.
No. I had a point before we started talking about Boruto.
Yes, good.
But I'm
Get
still
back to
not over Shikamaru being Hokage. And
It's
I may
really
never
None of us
be.
will ever be.
Oh,
We
my
can't,
God.
I guess we're all going to watch Boruto now.
Yeah.
Probably
Just turn
am,
on- shut
though.
this shit
Sad
down.
as
Like-
fuck.
Oh, God.
Anyway,
The reason why I had this as third place from back there is Gojo is a great
I didn't even
character.
realize that's where we left
Yes,
off.
we did. It was like 3 hours ago. I think that I prefer him very much as a side character. Like, good to have his backstory, good to have all of that. It's fine, but I luckily I think it's saved by the actual protagonist of this season, who you love, this
Suguro.
character, Suguro, who is
He
obviously
becomes a Nazi.
the villain in the first season. So it's always cool to see. And also, I'm a sucker, and I'm sorry to talk about Naruto again, but I'm going to. Not Boruto, Naruto, because there is some great shonen trope here
We'll
happening.
allow it. Yeah.
You know, like when we had Kakashi Gaiden, where we learned about Kakashi's backstory,
Yes.
where we learned about, you know, the three
And
Senin
Minato's as well.
and Minato's and
just
the three
gonna-
Senin as well. Like, it's just tried and tested, which is like two best friends, Naruto and Sasuke as well. Like, it's the same thing, tried and tested.
Hinata and Kageyama.
Yep.
Haikyuu.
Okay. I was like,
I was still on like Hinata.
Yeah, same. I was like,
we're
tiny,
Naruto.
tiny.
I'll shoehorn
mention.
Haikyuu into everything.
I'm here to talk about Haikyuu any day of the week, but I
Tell
was
you
in Naruto brain.
I know, so I had to put that in. Anyway, sorry.
I think, you know, we've got a very clear cut where it's like best friends torn apart, you know, like we were friends and now we're enemies. And I think it works really well in tropey ways. It was good to kind of see it, but it wasn't anything new to me. And I don't think I learnt that much more about I kind of found the pacing of it and everything just a little bit like, okay, now we know why he is evil.
But that was the point, right?
I know, but it just like, it didn't feel, I guess there's only 5 episodes, it's fine. I think maybe I'm just doing it as a whole season, but actually it's not the whole season,
No.
so that's not really fair of me. But it's a good way to start. I just found it them less compelling as lead characters than I did as like the main
side
antagonist and the
characters.
side character.
Would you also argue that is that a potentially a problem with Yuta as well because he's so insanely powerful? Also, whereas like
He's a
Yuji is
bummer.
Yuji is not. Yuji has the most powerful entity within him, who's not at full strength because he needs the 10 fingers to become so.
20.
Yes. So like,
Boy.
it's interesting about
Yeah,
him.
I
Because
was
he's
like-
on the journey, right? Whereas like Yuta pretty much
Jesus.
instantly becomes
Sorry, you missed
like.
Seamus saying 20, 2 hands. I was like, what?
Wait, 2
Four
hands?
hands?
4 hands.
4 hands.
I just counted wrong. I agree with you that the pacing's a bit funky. I think that Jujutsu Kaisen Zero's pacing is way funkier. But I'm bad anime take number 2. I think anime arcs turned into movies are always paced terribly.
That's not a bad take. I think it's a pretty standard take. I think because of the way mangas are written out, they obviously
Yeah.
lend themselves better to longer form.
I find I watched Jujutsu Kaisen 0 I think 3 times because I'm just trying to track Yuta's relationship with the Queen of Curses, and
Oh, yes.
it goes from 0 to 100, and it's his whole arc. His whole arc is coming to terms with the curse that's inside of him to the point that he makes out with her at the end, and she comes out twice. She comes out once in the hospital, once at the end, and he's gone full 360 on his relationship with her, and none of it is established. I find that movie like whiplash. I find it really frustrating because I feel like there could have been something cool there. Like I said, Naruto, but you make out with Kurama at the end. That's a pitch that should work for me. But it just doesn't land because it doesn't take enough time. But here, Gojo and Sugura's arc gets a lot close. It doesn't fully land for me. I wish we had a little bit more time with Sugura alone. I wish we had a Zuko alone episode about Suka.
we did
That
have
would actually
him
be
just
cool.
randomly in the shower for a while.
In terms of, I agree with you. I think that Jujutsu Kaisen 0, you know, it would have worked as like just a 3-episode arc, if not a 2-episode arc kind of thing for a backstory of a character. I do understand what you're saying pacing wise. I just liked I think maybe because I was missing Jujutsu Kaisen when I saw it, it was nice to have the little like, when we saw all the sorcerers coming out at the end and like just little like you saw fucking the guy going overtime and
Nami. Maki's sick.
who was
Maki's
so
sick.
good in
Maki
that.
was great in that film.
And
Maki's great in that
one
film.
thing I've been kind of, and a lot of people have been commenting on this on our episode of that Dark
Stupid
Trio,
power though.
which I
Yeah, true.
I kind of
Being
feel
Rock Lee?
The guy who slices people.
Oh, Nanami.
sorry.
Nanami.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I just said dumb power.
You got to cut you at a ratio, bro. And
Oh,
if he
yeah,
works
it's all about
overtime, he gets
ratios.
mad.
How do you
That's not a
discover
power.
that
That's
power?
me.
This is my problem. How do you discover that power?
His name is Nanami. So na and me.
I
It's
gotta
like
read
the
these
two
books
numbers
again. I might be
split
wrong
in.
about this
I'm pretty
entire
sure he
thing.
made up the power as a pun.
Yeah, right.
Anyway, this like so the ratio is like 3 and 4 is the two parts of his name split in. Sorry to have an answer, bro.
And I appreciate it.
Sorry, continue.
Just changed
Charlie.
my whole opinion on the thing. I love it.
So good. I was saying that on our Dark Tree episode, I had a lot of people commenting, and thank you, because I'm not a manga reader, and people were kind of calling me out because I was saying the one thing that drew me towards Jujutsu Kaisen, this is what we've talked about, is it was nice to have female characters who weren't necessarily entirely motivated by the male protagonist of the series. And that is, I still think, true to where I'm at currently in the anime. What I've heard is apparently it sort of doesn't quite see its potential with the female characters as the manga goes along. They seem to apparently be kind of left behind and not really featured at all. I think that's what happens from what I've heard, which is kind of disappointing because it was really nice to have a female lead who just did her own thing. Nobara. And she was so
Fucking love
cool.
Nobara.
She's a great character.
And honestly, like some of the few shonen characters who would pass a Bechdel test, you know, like they,
Yeah,
yeah,
that-
true. 100%.
like, and
That
that's
fight is a pass the Bechdel test fight. It's like
yeah.
two women talking about other women that inspire them and the problems with like
Gender-
sexist
gender roles.
pressure on them.
yeah, it's sick. But I unfortunately hear it doesn't quite stick. I hear it doesn't quite stick the landing with potential of like developing those characters further than what we've kind of seen, which I'm a bit disappointed about. But I will watch it before I'll wait till it comes out because
yeah.
I've disagreed with many people comments in the past, and people seem to be saying that Chainsaw Man apparently has the strongest female character. So I don't know. We shall
from
see.
that first season that I watched, this is the thing. We're watching. We're called gateway to anime. We're not gateway to manga. You know what I mean? So we're always up to date wherever the anime finishes. Right at the time of Jujutsu Kaisen season 1 finishing, strongest female characters by far. Chainsaw Man, problematic as fuck. with
It
the
is,
female
but I
characters,
mean, what does
you
it
know,
mean by
like-
strong? Because like obviously,
Makame's obviously the strongest.
but like she's an interesting character too. She's not
She-
necessarily.
I think she's a
'cause
great character.
Everyone's got a different definition of like strong female characters, and I for one find it boring when it's like it's a strong female character and she has got it together and she's really blah blah. I'm like, I kind of that gets
Single
annoying as
female
well. It's like that
lawyer.
weird pandering to Jujutsu Kaisen. Just does the shonen tropes without the female shonen trope stereotypes, which is the most boring thing, which is female characters always needing saving.
And
Yes.
or defined by their sexiness, which is
Totally.
kind of the thing that makes Chainsaw Man feel a bit
Bit
weird.
icky, yeah.
Because you're like, all these characters are defined by their, not all it, but the two main ones that you think about, Eye Patch Lady and I Have Red Hair, are defined by like their sexiness to the main character, whose whole thing is wanting to have sex. Where Yuji's thing is like, I want to die well, and
Honorably, yeah.
Totally.
and
It's-
Nobara's thing is I look good when I want to look good for me,
Yeah.
and then also I hammer nails into your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's also, I love her introduction where she's super confident about herself. And she's like, I'm going to be scouted to be a model. And she doesn't give a
And
fuck
she
what
fucking
anyone
stays
thinks.
confident.
She
Yeah.
doesn't care.
What I find interesting as well about Jujutsu Kaisen is that it does a really good combination of old and new when we talk about Japanese culture, right?
Yeah.
Because what's interesting about it is you've got this very old mentality of kind of Shintoist beliefs and whatnot, and this kind of like very much to do with modernity versus modernism, right? But then it is also a very modern. Again, we're talking Lord of the Rings. I think it's set in modern day Japan. It is still super relevant.
References
to
the Rasengan.
literally references its own pop culture, right?
Mm.
But still is pulling from all these kind of old mythologies and whatnot. And I think that's a really interesting thing to do. It does a lot of things at once, kind of, and there's a lot happening in Jujutsu Kaisen, I think.
Mm.
But it is easy to forget that it's actually doing a lot of things really cleverly. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's probably its most interesting aspect to me, anyway. You know?
Totally.
I just love the main three. Like that's the thing that I find so that got me in so quickly is that like those main three, you know, and even just visually, and just cannot get out of the shade of our big man Naruto today. But
course.
visually, just are the like Team 7 core. It's like
Yes.
you've got Sasuke, you've got Sakura, like pink hair. Not pink hair, but like the haircut, and you've got pink hair Naruto. But all of those characters are more believable friends by episode 5
Yes.
than Team 7 is by halfway through Shibuya.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
My favorite one, I love that Megumi's not a dickhead. I
Yes.
love that he's cold and sort of edgy, but he likes his friends. He's
Yeah.
just a bit cold
Yeah.
cold to them.
Yeah.
And the way that's always expressed is with the little post-credit scenes.
Yeah, they're great.
My favorite, maybe my second favorite moment of the entire series is the bit where Megumi's being hit on.
Oh yeah, and they run.
And like Yuji runs up to Gojo and Noburu's like, "Come quick, Yuji's been hit on," and the Megumi's being hit on, and then they all run and hit on him aggressively to break him up.
And they do like the formation run. They're like formation 7. They're all just like
they do the Naruto run. They do the Naruto run to go bug their friend, and it is the most realistic friend shit I've ever seen in a shonen anime, and it is tucked at the end of like tucked at the end of an episode like a little treat. Just fucking adore it.
And Gojo shows up and he was like, "It's time for your piano lesson."
No, your violin
throws
lesson.
the jacket over his fucking head.
It's like Victorian period horny. It's so weird. It just made me laugh so hard when it happened.
This is the thing.
I love those guys.
Because it is really funny.
Real
and
guys.
it is pulling on everyone's knowledge of the medium. And, you don't need to be a Japanese historian or like massive anime fan to understand it. But of course, you can appreciate a lot of these things a lot more by knowing it a bit. You know what I mean? And that's why I think it's almost postmodern in that respect. It's 100%. It's a postmodernist text in many ways. And I think it's one of those things that's so interesting because also it gives you exactly what you want with these hype as fuck things. Like Gojo is broken. Like, and a lot of the times I describe Jujutsu Kaisen, I was like, look, it's Gojo and he's doing stuff. And you're just like, and I'm here for it, dude, because it gives you that shot in the arm that all shonen that we grew up with, and, Japan obviously grew up with more so than any Westerner. It gives you a taste of that medicine with a little dose of also, but let's fucking make it a bit weird, and like that's what's so cool about it. Now, Chainsaw Man makes it even weirder, obviously, but like for me, it's like almost into the too weird. But I don't know, to each their own. But like for me, Jujutsu Kaisen just straddles that line really, really well.
Yeah,
and I think it balances itself incredibly intelligently. Now, the manga, for you manga readers who might start screaming at me, maybe I'm wrong, maybe it falls apart, and you know better than us. But like, from where it is right now, I am just loving it. I think it's fantastic. And long may it rain, say I.
Cool. I'm gonna ask everyone who's your favorite character in Jujutsu Kaisen? Give me a.
I'm the most basic bitch. It's Gojo, obviously.
Probably Megumi.
Not a good call.
I like
Maybe.
Megumi as well, but I'm gonna.
What I like about him is more of Sukuna's interest in him.
Yeah.
He's always like, "Oh, this kid, like, ooh, what's gonna go?" Now, even reading the manga, I still don't know what that's about, but I'm keen to know.
It's to do with the Shadow Realm, right? And there's something to do with that, which is cool.
The Shikigami.
Yeah.
He's got some. What is it? He's got like his trump card that he hasn't played. He mentions it like 3 times.
Oh,
Yes.
What a trump card! Oh, you guys don't even know.
God damn it.
Read a book, Sam. Yeah, probably Megumi.
I'm gonna go with
Your phone background was Gojo for like a year and a half.
yeah, I did crush on it. It's not my favorite though. I think Maki, she's cool as hell.
Okay.
Maki is
Okay.
cool.
She's so cool. I love the idea of as you were saying, I think you were saying before, Rock Lee vibe.
Lady-
Where
true.
she's hard work and she's so cool with her. Like I just think she's really cool. It's cool to have a character like that who has an interesting background, is really strong, but is like up against it, but just like works hard and is in their own right. It's kind of nice to see in a female character, particularly in shonen.
Toto with like a million
course.
miles between him and everyone else. I love that character so much. However, I do want to give a shout out to Yuji as like by far my favorite protagonist of the big 3. Particularly for one reason is that everyone else who's powerful in this anime has like some weird hack. It's like Gojo's got like infinity and 6 eyes, and Yuta's got like a curse technique that lets him copy everyone else's curse technique, and Yuji has his left and his right goddamn hand.
Yeah, but he is incredibly strong though, which is the hack in itself.
And he just throws everyone. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
He hip checks a nature demon at one point.
He does.
Everyone else is in Jujutsu Kaisen and he's in Brazilian Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yeah.
I hope his domain expansion's just a big mat.
Just a big hand that just comes and hits people.
Yeah, I just fucking love how much he tosses folk.
It's this. I think it's the very first episode where he's doing like the shot.
Yeah, and
thing,
he's
and
like,
he tosses it, and it wedges itself in the goalpost, and the coach is just like dead for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like super strength.
It's so fun that he's just a big meathead. I love him.
Yeah.
Him and Toto together as well. I would just watch it if it was just them.
Look, that sequence with the claps, obviously, and
it's
the
one of the
best
greatest.
friend, one of the greatest. That the memes, it's absolutely fantastic.
It's so good.
It is. Well, I guess there's anything you can take from this is that we love Jujutsu Kaisen. You should all watch Jujutsu Kaisen. If you haven't, rewatch it again because it's so fucking good. And Seamus Quinn, thank you so much.
Before we leave, I want Seamus to read out his list of anime bad takes.
Fuck, this could go for another hour if we let that happen.
I just want a quick fire.
All right,
Okay.
You know what? No rebuttal.
I sit here in silence.
We'll sit here in silence. Well, I say
If
that
you
now.
try and argue with him, you lose.
I'm going
Okay.
to get
Okay.
punched in the comments. It's
All
going
right.
to be incredible.
Stare
Here we
right
go.
at camera 2.
Yeah, stare into camera 3. So,
Okay.
here we go.
Demon Slayer season 3, best season. Mist Hashira, better than Tengen.
Oh God.
You just like Mormons. You're weird. Attack on Titan, kind of racist.
That's not that hard to take.
No movie is scarier than My Neighbor Totoro. And then my last one will be there is no better dub than the Dragon Ball Z abridged series on YouTube.
No, that wasn't as bad as I thought.
No,
it's bad. No, it's
That wasn't
bad.
as bad as I thought it was
your
going to
Demon
be.
Slayer
Yeah.
takes are always bad though, so I just
The
don't.
Demon Slayer
I
takes
can't-
are
There were
ludicrous.
2 Demon Slayer takes because I matter about it in that.
Yep. Yeah, that actually
I
wasn't
like
as bad
Mormons.
He's just a Mormon with a bunch of fireworks. Just go to Utah and ask anyone. Same guy.
If that's the vibe, then sign me up.
yeah.
Is all I'll say.
I'll wear
I
some
will
magical
go.
underpants.
Yeah, he's wearing magical underpants that entire arc.
That's how he gets it done.
That's how it gets it done. Tengen is an
Um,
excellent character. Also, Rengoku, obviously even
Yeah.
better. Obviously.
All right.
less than Mist Hashira, but
Miss Hashira.
Miss Hashira is so mid. But anyway,
The boring Hashira.
anyway, we promised we wouldn't rebut.
This is
But
true.
in the comments, go nuts if you wish. Drive that engagement.
come for me, internet. You don't know where I live.
But no, honestly, Seamus, thank you so much. It's been a long time coming, long time fan of the podcast. We appreciate your support, and it's been
Yeah, I
so
am
good to
a
have you
huge
on.
fan.
Well, thank you very
So
much.
good to be here at last.
It's been so good to have you. I'm glad we could do it in such a opulent space.
Fancy
So-
pants.
And
Studio.
if you enjoyed Seamus Quinn content, then you can find plenty more of that at Supporting Cast, where we dedicate most of our time to embarrassing ourselves in our childhood and talking about movies. So come and check it out.
And poorly thought out games.
Oh yeah, both of us have worn fedoras unironically in our lives, and we bring that up often. So there you go.
Outstanding. Well, of course, thank you, Charlie, Graeme. Always a pleasure. Jujutsu Kaisen. Check it out. We had to do a deep dive. It's just such a good time now. Of course, you can, in fact, Charlie, do you want to do the outro for once? Or do you want me to just do what I always do? Instagram?
Oh yeah, sweet. Hey.
It's going.
I do it all the time. Let's throw it.
So I'm honestly still thinking about Boruto.
Yeah.
I don't know. You could like that has taken up all of my brain space right now, and I just like need to watch it immediately.
I could legitimately do another episode just about misremembered things from Boruto.
From the YouTube highlights.
Orochimaru has a son and
Yeah.
he's sick, apparently.
That's better than main 3 characters.
yeah, Mitsuki.
I knew that.
He's
I
going
watched.
to be a
I watched
perfect
like
snake sage.
I watched like a bunch of it when it first came out. I
did
really
too, and It
tried.
offended me so deeply that I had to
Yeah,
stop.
I just what's
It's like-
upsetting is Boruto was so ungrateful for his father, and for us that was like I was like, how dare you say that about your
you
dad?
know who your father
I
is.
couldn't
saved the
deal
village.
with it. I was
Shit
like, are
in
you
the
serious? He's Hokage. Have some respect.
Put
Anyway.
some respect on
Anyway.
that man.
Respect on the
Follow us on
name.
Instagram.
Anyway,
All right.
You want to agree?
If you enjoyed this episode, you can find us on gatewaytoanime.com. You can also find us on YouTube, like and subscribe. We also have a Patreon if you want to check that out. There's a link in the bio. Anything helps. We really greatly appreciate it, but all good if not. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening, and we will see you next week.
we absolutely will. And let us know your favorite characters and your thoughts on Jujutsu Kaisen. We love to talk about it. Hit us up. We answer all of our Instagram DMs. So hit us up, and we'll see you all next time. Seamus, thank you again. Check out Supporting Cast if you haven't, and of course, follow us if you don't. Have a good one.
Eat out of my eye.
Lost in paradise. Hey.